Like, how far do you have to get pushed for you to be like, okay, something's not right. I need to go write music, or I need to go play an instrument, or like, what is it that is your like tipping point when you're like, this is too much?
Well, I know for myself, I start feeling some heat in my like solar plexus sacral areas for sure, and in my chest, throat, okay, pretty much everywhere. Oh, let's just name all the energy cells, like the whole body. The whole body. Let's be real. I feel it everywhere.
This is our space.
Hey, friends.
Hey,
Amira here
Wendy.
with Firemouth Anonymous.
Thank you for catching another episode.
Yes. I'm going to let Wendy introduce, what we're going to be talking about in this episode. So
Fun stuff.
go for it.
So we were trying to decide on what to talk about today, and I said, let's talk about something fun. And then we came to a complete silence, which is very abnormal for us because we are never silent. We're always talking about something. So somehow we started on the topic of Jamie Foxx's special and then got into current events. And I thought, well, this is perfect. How do you find fun in times like these? But first thing is, what are these times? Confusion, frustration, anger, despair, all kinds of things. I think a lot of darkness is coming up during this time, and coming from it in a spiritual, energetic perspective. It's I feel like Goddess Kali is coming with like, things have to destruct in order for you to rebuild, which is what's currently happening right now on this plane of existence, in this dimension. But again, how do you find fun, magic, and all of that in this? And I know that might sound kind of bizarre and morbid, because I feel like so many of us that are alive right now want to, we're good people. We want to help each other. We want to do all these things, but we become inundated with all of this darkness and sadness and stuff, and it becomes overwhelming, and we lose track of the light, the good things, the fun. And I think it's very, very much deeply rooted in how we were programmed in this capitalistic society of work. There's no time for fun, because if you have fun, then how are you making money?
Yeah. I just hear that. Is it Rihanna? Work.
Yeah. You gotta sing it about it.
Yeah. Like that's how you
whistle while you work, girl.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's where we're at, is how do we have fun during these times? Because, I started talking to Amira about how the only source of news I get now is from Instagram. I used to be an avid watcher of the news, but mainstream media is not my thing at all. So again, I get my stuff from Instagram, and then I become too overwhelmed by it, and then I just check out. And I think for me, let me know how you feel, Amira, is I would feel a little bit disappointed in myself when I would live from a place of fun and lightness and joy. And I'm still kind of feeling this way when there's people dying in other countries, when there's a whole genocide happening, or there's, like you mentioned, when there's, children in Egypt digging through trash, looking for their meal. It's like, how are we still able to hold space for fun and life and light and magic during these dark times?
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that. And actually, as you were expressing that, I think what was coming up for me was the word is capacity and bandwidth. And what I mean by that is, at least for myself, what I have found is in those times, and especially with whatever fuckery we're in right now, where things just feel like complete shitstorms, I know for myself what helps me to regulate my nervous system again and allows me to expand my overall bandwidth and capacity is being able to find an activity or go into a state of mind that brings in that lightness and fun that way, once I'm regulated again and I have some of that emotional, mental, physical stability, I can then come to this place where I can ask myself, okay, now that I have a clearer head and a lighter heart, what can I actually do to contribute to bringing more of that lightness into some of these darker energies? What can I do to help with some of this paradigm shifting, knowing that there's mass chaos going on in some of, not only in our own country of America, but around the world globally? Because I know for myself, it can be very easy to get swept up in some of those heavier, denser, darker energies.
Yeah.
But I know for myself, there's no way that I can actually move forward and try to help if I get swept away by it. I got to have something that roots me, which is why I feel that having some kind of activity or having something that allows me to bring myself into that state of fun or lightness, brightness, whatever you want to call it, is actually my way of bringing myself into this place of, okay, now how can I actually make a difference? How can I make a shift and change and lighten up the denser energies?
Yeah.
Because I now have the capacity and bandwidth.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're resonating from that higher frequency. And thank you for sharing that, because that just triggered a whole bunch of things for me. Is I think when I was operating from that place of anger and despair, of like literally wanting to, I think this all kind of came to a head for me when all that stuff was happening in Syria and the refugees, we were taking in refugees and everything. And I just felt so overwhelmed because I felt like, how can I physically help these people? And it became so overwhelming for me. I feel like I got physically sick from it, and overwhelmed and all of that stuff. But like you were saying, I think there was a part of me that felt a lot of guilt for wanting to feel joy and happiness when all these other things are happening.
Right.
But once you're able to get back into that place of like, you can only take care of yourself, right? You're only responsible for yourself. So if you're vibrating from that place of love and joy and all the things that make you happy, then you are then creating that domino effect for everything else that you reach. So it's kind of like, am I going to continue to feed the darkness by submitting to it? Or like you said, am I going to shift that perspective and be like, okay, I understand that there's a lot of things going on outside of me that I can't control, but what can I control? I can control me. I can control how I feel and then what I shoot out from there. And for me, and we were talking about this earlier, it's through creativity. It's through laughing. It's through finding those places that make me feel at peace with not just what's happening outside of me, but especially within. So like going to the beach or going to the mountain, just being in nature or being around people that bring that out of you to help, like you smack me with a spiritual 2x4, that nature, like, get back, here's, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. It's not all doom and gloom all the time, but it's I understand that we get pulled into that because we are humans in this simulation or whatever you want to call it. So of course it's going to affect us to some degree, but then it's like, again, it's important to find those things, like you said earlier, or in previous conversations, is the things that make you like have fun and bring you back to like what I call like the baseline or your center, and then being able to brighten the world from that spot instead of somewhere where you're vibrating lower. But I'd like to know what makes you light up.
It's interesting because, and Wendy and I, we were having this discussion over some hot chocolate and banana nut bread.
We're oldies.
And I'm okay with that. What was coming up, and I had mentioned this to her, was, for me personally, it's music. And I think about how there have been many different points in history where, if I'm using music, in this context, where music has changed the world. Like, I think about, there's a documentary on Netflix right now, please forgive me, I can't remember the name, but it's about how, the superstars of all superstars from around the world came together to record this one song to help. I think it was global aid relief in Africa.
Yes.
Yeah, like the pop song that changed the world, something like that.
Yes,
Forgive me for like effing up the song title, but wow, like talk about how using some like a creative outlet like that creative environment to bring together all these incredible voices, incredible people who wanted to make a difference. And so that's how I like to view the world, from that stance of what can I utilize with the gifts and the talents I've been blessed with, because we each have been gifted with talents and different things. And how can I utilize that not only to help create that stability within myself, but also use that to speak my message, to express, to release, whether I'm feeling anger, cynicism, bitterness, sadness, joy, love, whatever the case is. And for me, music has been a big part of that.
Well, I like that.
So knowing that if something like that, where you get Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie, and you have Quincy, like the heavy hitters, y'all, like the big time people from all different parts of the world, all different genres of music to come together for this one cause, and knowing all the money that they raised, you know, who says that you can't use, there have been plenty of songs like Jimi Hendrix and Bob Dylan and all of these incredible artists, and not just from a music standpoint, but even like the painters, the sculptors, whatever the case is, these people who have expressed their disdain or their joy for certain societal structures through their art. And that's their way of releasing and also sharing their point of view to show people like, hey, pay attention.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the lyrics in my song. Pay attention to the colors I used in this painting. Pay attention to how I sculpted this sculpture. What emotions does that evoke? How does this make you feel and make you want to do and shift and make those changes in the world? So I feel for myself, you know, when I'm feeling those very, I don't want to use the word heavy, but very like energetically charged emotions like disgust and cynicism and disdain for something, because you know something needs to change. It's like, how can I channel that in a way where I'm going to be able to have other people listen and also want to partake in making that shift and that change?
Okay.
Yeah. That's where it comes from, at least from my perspective. I mean, how does that land for you? Like,
ooh wee. Well, how does that land for me? I feel like I don't know if I have. This is like me being very vulnerable right now. I'm like, I feel like I don't really have like one go-to thing that brings me back to like this place of fun. I find myself understanding that I am completely an overthinker. It's not like I can just, it's not easy for me to just let go and just have fun. I think because of there's that like echo of sadness or whatever it is going on that's still here, right? Like there's something in me that is difficult for me to disconnect from that. So when I'm going into, for me, I go straight into like a creative process, and I like to create anything and everything. Like I can go into Michael's and have like 20,000 ideas popping out of my head. I just love to create. And for me, I think what makes me feel a little bit weird about channeling my, like, I don't want to call them like lower vibrational emotions, whatever the hell, that sounds so like cliche, but like emotions that aren't favorable for me. Channeling that into something that I love, because everything I create is, I love it. It's beautiful. It's like, how do I take anger and transform that into love and joy? I don't know how to do that. Does that make sense? I'd love to learn how. Like, because when you were talking about making music, and then I don't know, I got this visual of like when you make sausage and you put all the ingredients in that thingy and it like shoots it out into the casing, right? It's like all your emotions get funneled in and then you crank something wonderful out. So for me, it's like, how do I crank? Because I'm a very like angry person to injustice. I'm angry and rageful when it comes to injustice. I had to put that disclaimer out there. It comes to injustice. It's like, how do I take all that rage and anger and filter it into something and have it spit out joy and love.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand, and I'm an alchemist, but that to me is very difficult because when I feel those heavy energies, it's like, how can you possibly turn something so hard into something so soft?
Mm-hmm.
But that creative process is what I feel like it takes me out of that headspace, but it doesn't make it go away. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's fun for me in the moment, but then the anger's still there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I don't like.
And that's okay. So it sounds like some of that energetic charge from that is still present.
Yeah.
And and this is a personal opinion, I don't feel that that's necessarily a bad thing. Something that I would invite you to maybe sit with is why it's so uncomfortable.
You know what?
Yeah.
I think it's because I feel like you have to be one or the other.
See, and fun fact, we're both Scorpios, and a lot of us Scorpios tend to be the all or nothing type of person, but we are multifaceted,
Yes,
and I believe there's higher, lower vibrational states that we fluctuate in. And it's interesting, you just mentioned, because I believe it has to be one thing or the other, but
Yeah.
it says who?
I don't know. I gotta ask the Lord about that.
Then I get back to you. Jesus, I have a question. But just something
Well,
I
it's
want
true.
to invite you
It's
to
true.
sit
It's
with.
true. It's. I feel like it's always this. And welcome to Wendy's therapy session. This is what happens. I think it's just the way I was raised, and obviously, like being. Yes, I'm like I don't know how many Scorpios are in my houses, and Lord Jesus, I'm a Sun Moon Scorpio, Aries rising, so watch out, everybody.
Oh, yeah, water and fire, y'all. Mm-hmm.
But I feel like for me, I've always resonated more with the darkness, so it's kind of difficult for me to understand that it can be something good. Does that make sense? And which is interesting because I love shadow work, which is exactly that, turning darkness into light.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, when it comes to me and being that like factory of joy and of light and fun, it's like it's like my mechanisms start like they're rusty or something, like cranking it, like, come on, make this happy. Come on, make this fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it, maybe it's just like me giving myself more space to allow, like, maybe to be conscious of it. Like when let's just say angry.
Yeah.
And being like, okay, I'm angry. I'm going to go paint. I'm going to go paint with this rage-filled like hand and see what happens. And then not like judge myself about it, right?
Yes. And I love our conversations like this because I truly believe we all innately have the answers within.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it just takes us seeing, like shifting the mirror from a different angle, being like, oh, I didn't think to look at it that way. Or like, oh, when I shift it in this angle, oh, I didn't see those other things before. And the word you just mentioned was judgment.
Yeah.
So sometimes, what I feel intuitively is I wonder if there's that sense of judgment that's in place around you, just first of all, still feeling some of the anger. And then because the judgment is there, it's like, well, but I'm still angry. And now I'm judging myself for being angry.
Yes.
And like, maybe I'm not doing this right. Or maybe
Yes.
So that's where I say I challenge you and I invite you to like sit with that for a moment and be like, okay, it's okay to like, maybe I just want to go to Michael's, buy a bunch of canvases, and maybe the intention initially was going to paint, but now I just feel like slashing all of them with like a box cutter knife. And who knows, that's okay. Like those canvases could even be a tangible physical representation of some of the injustices in your life that you're like, this canvas is going to represent my anger towards capitalism, or this canvas is going to represent my anger or cynicism towards people who don't see, or people who are racist, or whatever the case. I'm just throwing shit out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, just as an example.
I see.
Because maybe we go into it believing like, well, we have to have fun this way. It has to look
Yes.
like this.
Yes.
When it doesn't. That's the whole idea of fun and imagination. That's something that I'm stepping back into as well. Because as a musician, I was a musician most of my life. I'm always gonna be, but I did that for 20 something years of my life. And you get used to this thing of like, but I have to create something that's good. I have to create something that other people are going to enjoy. It's like, no, that's not the point. The point is like, at least what I'm realizing is I'm creating this just to express, just to get some shit out. Because I don't want to hold on to that anger. I don't want to hold on to this or that. And even though I might need to sit with it for a bit, just to hear its voice, just to hear what it has to say. Okay, now I'm ready to let the voice express itself, whether that's through a paintbrush, hitting a piñata full of shit, or writing it through a song, or sculpting it, or going to Zumba, or Tai Bo, whatever the case is. If any of y'all know that Tai Bo reference.
Like, you went all the way back. You went all the way back to the 2000s with Tai Bo, Billy Blanks.
Yes. Where are my millennials at?
Right here.
So yes, that's where I'm going with that. So that's just what's coming through as you
And I
share that.
like that. Thank you for saying that, because I think that's exactly what I feel. I feel like that this rage has to be somehow manifested into like a beautiful flower.
No, it doesn't have to.
And I don't, I feel like I'm putting those restrictions on myself, where it can look like I could just fucking puke on a canvas. I'm not going to do that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's disgusting. But if that's how I want to express myself, but that's the thing is I think like how I said, my mechanics weren't turning so smoothly, is my own judgment, my own hindrance of like, I'm putting the kibosh on my creativity, because I'm thinking it's supposed to look like this,
Right.
when in fact it can be whatever. Girl. And honestly, like, because fun for me, I think when I was younger and getting it out was drinking. Because I would drink. That's why I would drink. When I go out is because I would just forget about everything. And I drink myself into a place of not remembering anything. And now that I've moved out of that place of my life, I think fun for me is being outside, literally gardening or playing with my dogs.
I love that.
Or I don't know, hanging out with you or the other girls, or just doing things, like I said, that come from my heart, that I genuinely want to do and that bring a smile to me. But I'm still, I think as we keep evolving, those things keep changing. And because I'm in this place of discovering myself and where I am now, I think maybe that's why I'm feeling a little bit like,
That was the perfect phrase for it. It's like,
like, what is fun?
Yeah.
What is fun for me? And I think it's things that make me laugh, genuinely laugh, and people that are real and real life experiences. You know what I'm saying? And sitting with joy now has fucked me over in the best way. Because now it's like, I've realized that I have only let joy into my life in like bite-sized pieces, right? You're not allowed to have too much joy, because then what? Because then you're not being serious, and you're not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then you're not doing your job as a human, because you're having too much fun. And then being in this place now of like, you can never have too much fun, because having fun is joy, is all these wonderful things, which, like we said before, just trickles out.
Yeah.
So I think leaning in more into my creative process and not putting all these limitations on myself is wonderful. Like taking divine guidance and seeing it as a love project instead of a business venture would be very helpful for me. And then, sorry, this was something that I had in my head, and you just brought it back with the mirrors. Is like when you were saying how I'm going to go back to this. We had talked about this before, about how we're all like strategically placed mirrors in our lives, right? So when you are a mirror that is bouncing off joy and love and fun and all that stuff, it helps me adjust myself to that same thing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I readjust myself like, a mirror is holding space for me so I can bounce that light off. So let me do that. And so we each keep contributing to each other's shifts into joy. So thank you for bringing that mirror back into this conversation, because that's what I want to get out.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I've resonated with that metaphor analogy of being a mirror. I believe that we're all mirrors of each other, and we are reflecting each other's energetic vibrations in some shape, way, or form, whether that's on the spectrum of being lighter or on the other spectrum of feeling some of that heaviness, because we're going to fluctuate. That's just part of this human experience. And that's why I think us talking about this aspect of fun and being able to give ourselves permission to experience fun and not feel guilty about it. Because that, I feel, if the world could give itself more permission to not feel like, oh, I'm having too much fun, or it's not enough fun, or again, it comes back to placing these, like this rigidity on it, or these constructions, or this structure on it. And it's like, that's not what creativity and fun is about. It's supposed to be something that's very open and flexible and fluid. That's the whole premise of creativity and fun. That's where that comes into play. So I believe with fun, at least just in my opinion, it's coming back to that place of, again, what is something that I can do or say or be in the act of and feel like hours pass by and I'm like, wow, I'm being so present. And this is not only helping to raise and stabilize my vibration, but I know when I'm doing that, you know, and you said a phrase earlier about like a domino effect occurring, where that's naturally going to emanate outward to everyone else. And then that's why I mentioned earlier, at least for myself, it feels like it creates more of this capacity. It creates expansion. Yeah. For us to be able to say, okay, I'm in this higher vibrational, lighter state. What can I now do?
Right. From this place.
To like work through those injustices, to work through the anger that I'm feeling about the crazy shit that's happening in the world. What can I do to provide better services for the veterans that are treated like shit when they come back and they're thrown back into civilian life? What can I do about, you know, world hunger in all of these other different countries and any other, you know, world topic that feels untouchable? But if we take that moment to just expand our bandwidth through creativity, there's always an answer. There's always a way.
And I think that's like beautiful the way you explain that, because once we're creating from that place of peace and love and lightness, there's I want to say like it's untouchable, but obviously it's going to depend on the person receiving it. But if you're creating from that space, then it's something pure. Does that make sense? Like it's not what's the word?
Contrived or forced.
It's not tainted. Does that make sense? Because if we're creating from, like you were saying, how do I help this, and this? If we're creating from a space of despair, you know, what is that really helping? Like, again, you're just feeding what you don't want. So it's, I think being able to, like you said, give ourselves the permission to have fun and then to create from that space without guilt.
Yeah.
And knowing that maybe all the world is asking for us is to just do that. Maybe it just wants us to laugh. Maybe it just wants us to show up for each other, and by, I don't know, giving me hot chocolate and banana nut bread. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
Like it can literally be something, and maybe that's just what it is too. Because if you're whatever you're creating, big or small, it doesn't matter. In an energetic sense, it's what's made from. You know what it is? It's what it's made from. So like, even if it's just hosting a dinner or opening the car door for someone, it's all born from that same place. So I think, I just, especially right now with all the craziness, and I know it's going to get crazier, but I think that's what's going to be helpful for a lot of people on this path is remembering or discovering what makes you have fun. Like, what does it take for you? Like, how far do you have to get pushed for you to be like, okay, something's not right. I need to go write music, or I need to go play an instrument, or like, what is it that is your like tipping point when you're like, this is too much?
Well, I know for myself, I start feeling some heat in my like solar plexus sacral areas for sure. And in my chest, throat, okay, pretty much everywhere. Oh, let's just name all the energy cells, like the whole body. The whole body. Let's be real. I feel it everywhere. And when it feels like there is an implosion pending, I don't want to turn into what I call, for all of you comic book people, folks out there, I don't want to turn into Venom and then not have any recollection of what the hell I've said and done, and potentially end up endangering myself or other people. I feel there's a way to do things where you can still get the message across and you can still be helpful while being regulated and stable and rooted. And I feel for myself, yes, it feels like there's this impending implosion that's about to take place where I tell myself, okay, we're going to go take the pup for a walk, or this feels like a music moment, or this feels like a moment to just go do some Pilates or yoga or something just to help move the body. Because I do believe that all of that energy that is suddenly becoming activated and growing in the body, it needs to be released in some way. And so doing something that actually involves movement.
May I ask you a question regarding that?
Yeah.
So are you fully conscious of what you're feeling as you're doing these activities? Meaning, like, are you conscious of the anger or the frustration that you're feeling as you're doing these activities? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Usually I am. And that's what I will do. It's interesting. And again, everyone's process and actions and whatever your activities are going to be different. So there's no right or wrong way per se. As long as you're not hurting someone, I think that's fair to say. At least I hope it is. So what I've noticed, things that I tend to gravitate to are activities and movements that allow me to be in flow, that don't feel like they're placing this form of structure on me. So like, for example, music. Even though, yes, we all know that there's usual structures to music, like, oh, there's a verse 1 and then chorus, verse 2, and then blah, 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 blah. Sometimes I'll just do a stream of consciousness thing and I'll just write and it'll be the same 4 chords. And I'm like, I'm not here to try to write a whole song. Right now I'm just feeling angry, and this anger just feels like it wants to just be an entire verse, or it just wants to be words over this same chord for the next 5 minutes. And that's okay.
Gotcha.
Or it feels like this cynicism or sadness or whatever the case is, or disdain or disgust wants to be expressed through certain yoga or Pilates movements, where whether I'm in downward dog or something, or savasana, where it's like, okay, I'm tapping and tuning into my body, or I'm using my tuning forks to help, the vibration's going to help recalibrate and bring in coherence, whatever the case is. So I find that I tend to gravitate towards activities that bring in that inner peace for me. Whereas there can be other people where they're like, listen, I'm going to straight up do some kickboxing and taekwondo or jujitsu. And I'm like, go bitch, go. Like fly bird, fly bird, fly, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. Because those are very yes, which is great. That's why I say there's no right or wrong.
That's me.
It's just like, it's like whatever you gravitate to. Maybe that is stuffing a piñata full of certain phrases or words or items that, again, can represent something. And I used that example last time of the canvases, like taking a box cutter to the canvases. Maybe that's what it is for you, and that's okay.
And allowing yourself to have fun while doing it.
Yes.
That's it. Because I'm like, you said you didn't know what you did to have fun, but you've listed a lot of things.
Yes, well, that's because I've been getting back in touch with that. Because, yes, I couldn't answer that question a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, something is wrong with that. If I can't list at least 3 things and I'm sitting there and it's crickets, that means I'm not injecting enough fun into my life.
Right.
Like, whoa, that's a problem.
Or even, because as you were speaking, it was almost like, for me, I like when I would go to a boxing gym, I would punch the bag, and every punch was me releasing that energy. So I understand that, but then intertwining it with fun. Not only am I getting all those, all that aggression out, but it's also fun. And it's like, it's checking off a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what I need to hold with me when I'm doing these things, is understanding that it's serving multiple purposes. Like, again, it's not just one or the other. It's serving, girl.
Be in the gray.
How much is this therapy?
It's okay.
2 tacos and a chaparral.
I'll take it. That's like, it's okay to be in the gray.
Yeah, it is. It sure is. That's where I am, in the gray.
Play in the gray.
I'm in the gray. Lord Almighty. There was something else that was coming up with this. It wasn't about the hitting, which was definitely, like I said, something I really like to do. Is it exert your energy?
Yeah.
Yeah, through physical things, and it's not so much the flowing and all of that.
And that's
for
cool.
me, for me, it's like being able to, and which is interesting because I've never been in a physical fight. I've never like done anything like that, but for whatever reason, that's how I like to get it out.
That's cool.
But maybe it will be me exploring more of the like gentle things and being able to, you know what I'm saying? Because I would write a lot. I haven't written for quite some time, but that's how I would get my emotions out, would be writing. And I filled journals and notebooks and diaries just full and full and full of all of these emotions. And there was at one point when I was like reading through them and I'm like, Lord Almighty, like, hey, this is some deep stuff. And I was able to like let go of them, and I burned all of that stuff. So I feel like maybe creation and destruction all in one is my fun.
And that's
Creating
okay.
and destructing.
That's okay.
It's my form of I guess like alchemy, right? Of balancing. That's it. Is like, if I start out with something heavy and then transforming it into something light, it like cancels itself out.
There's a balance there. Yeah. And it's interesting, actually, as you were mentioning that, it's, and I'm going back to this point of, even if you discover that it ends up being activities where expelling force ends up being your thing, that's okay too. It doesn't have to be this thing of, well, but I should also include things that are more flowy and gentle. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. Or even vice versa. It's like, well, but I usually just do the flowy, gentle things. Maybe I need to do things that expel more force. You know, if it's whatever resonates with you. And you might find that you fluctuate, or it just naturally, organically changes into that over time as you get older.
Right.
Or whatever that occasion ends up calling for. Because as you were saying that, you know, when it comes to writing music, like, yes, obviously doing yoga and things of that nature, meditating, that's more of like that flow, stillness aspect. Like, for music, people, when they first look at me, they might not necessarily expect this, but y'all, I'm all for like the hardcore death metal, like I'm all about that. I'm all about that. And I would love to be in like a hard rock band, because that is my jiggity jam. And playing hard rock guitar riffs and things of that nature, that's like when I'm feeling like the anger and all that kind of stuff, like it comes out through that shit. Like when I'm playing rock music or that kind of music that has that kind of energy.
Yeah.
You know, versus like the coffee shop songwriter stuff, which is, you know, what I usually tend to go to when I'm feeling more on the like poignant kind of like ponderous type side of things. So it's okay to fluctuate.
Yeah.
And find yourself kind of experimenting.
Yeah, which is good too, because it's just because writing worked for me in the past doesn't mean it resonates with me now. Or just because, you know, maybe I had more anger in the past and boxing was what, maybe it's not for me now, and I don't have to pigeonhole myself into a certain activity that I'm like, well, if I don't do this, then I'm not going to feel better. No, it's like, okay, well, maybe now I like painting I don't know, whatever. You know, like paint by number. I don't.
Yep.
Who knows? But not being scared to try new things and not being scared to have fun doing it. Like, I don't want to repress myself in any way, which is something I spoke about. And I think one of my on Instagram posts is like not putting a cap on joy, allowing myself to fully experience joy as much as it wants to show up in my life. And if that is born from a place of me being upset, then that's where it was born from. Like, but hey, I am conscious enough and have the tools to be able to transform it. And maybe that's why I get so angry, is because I'm capable of doing something with it.
Oh, that might be something to sit with. Yeah.
I don't know how to say that. I'm like, ugh. More responsibility. Damn it. Well, it's like what you say. It's like, how did you say it? And correct me, because I'm probably going to butcher this, where you're like, my capacity to hold light is as much as my capacity to hold darkness, or what was it?
Oh, so yeah. I mean, I like that paraphrase too. What I say to a lot of people is my like the kindness anger thing aspect. Like, my kindness runs as deep as my anger. Yes, my kindness runs as deep as my anger. So those are two things on the opposite ends of the spectrum. So yes, that absolutely can be applied to the lightness and the darkness.
Correct, because if you're able to feel that much frustration, all of that stuff, you have the ability to feel the complete opposite of that just as much. But I think it becomes so uncomfortable in the process of going from one to the other, that people just stop and just give up and stay in one spot and let it boil over, which is when people become hostile or, angry and actually take it out on other people or other things, because they don't actually have their way of expressing it.
Yep. Nope, 100%. I totally feel you with that. And I think that's why we tend to have some of the issues that we have, not only in America, but globally. I feel it's because a lot of us are programmed to believe that we have to do things a certain way, that it has to feel like this or look like this or be done like this, including the fun aspect, like you just said.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, well, I guess I have to have fun like this. Or
Which doesn't sound fun at all.
No, which is the complete opposite. It's like, hold on a second, wait a minute. Again, the whole idea of creativity and fun is it's supposed to flow and be free, and whatever goes, and however it's going to go is how it's going to go.
Yeah.
Not trying to place these structures on it. And I think that's why so many of us implode and explode, and crazy shit happens in the world.
Absolutely.
People are blowing things up or blowing people up, or all the crazy stuff that's happening. So it's like, okay, I'm being placed in this box, in this compromising position that doesn't feel like me, because I've been told that it has to be done a certain way, even including things that should be free and flowy, like creativity and artistic expression.
Yeah. So with that being said, I urge anybody who's listening to find your own version of fun, whatever that looks like. As long as you're not hurting anything or anyone else, I think it would be very helpful for us to move into this version of our lives from that place of peace within ourselves, and knowing that no matter what is going on outside of us in this world, that we are ultimately responsible for ourselves, and we're responsible for our own happiness and our own joy and our own capacity to feel that just as deeply as we feel everything else. So yeah, I challenge you to be happy.
Well, I
challenge you to have some fun, motherfuckers.
Here. Clink, clink. Yeah.
Clink, clink.
Yes.
That's right.
I 100% in agreement with that. And yeah, we just invite you to figure out what fun looks like for you, and how not to put a cap on that, and to know that if you have been in that position where you've had resistance or hesitation around doing fun or experimental or creative activities because there's been guilt around it or things like that. Knowing that if you can just shift that perspective, I invite you to shift that and see how that can actually expand your capacity to then help you move upward, onward, and forward, and help you work into those other injustices or those things that do make your blood boil, because then at that point there will be more stability. So just something for you all to think about. And we just felt called to share about this topic. So if you all want to end up putting in the comments or share like something you enjoy doing for fun that you don't put any kind of restrictions or caps or structures on, things that help you release. You never know who you're going to inspire by sharing.
Absolutely.
And doing that.
And no judgment. No freaking judgment, bro. Like none at all. If you like to paint nude people, go for it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It actually feels really nice having a paintbrush on your bare skin. Just put that out there.
Girl, that's for a whole nother episode.
And on that note.
And that's how Amira has fun. Oh, that explains all the paintbrushes. No, just kidding. She's got a whole roller. I know. Did you know what on the other...
Sorry.
One other thing I want to piggyback on that is not allowing other people to dictate your perception of fun either. And this came to me right now, and it might sound very morbid, but you can even be at a freaking funeral, right? And find some kind of joy in that moment. And that's totally up to you. And it could be seeing a beautiful flower. It could remind you of a beautiful memory with the person or seeing, you know what I mean? Like you are fully capable of choosing fun and joy at any time in your life. And I ask you to not let anybody ruin that for you, because that has been something that has been happening to us since birth, letting other people define things for you. So do you. Do you,
baby boo? Yes, exactly. Well, we love you all. And again, if this is your first time tuning in, we appreciate you taking the time to watch or listen on all the different platforms. And we would so appreciate you all subscribing to our YouTube, following us on the Gram at Firemouth Anon. We'll have all the information.
Yes.
In the captions, all the things. Share with your friends, your homies, your familia, with all the peoples, the guy down the street. Yes. Everybody. Let them know what's up. We appreciate you all. And till next time, friends.
Adios.
Bye-bye.